Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Path of Enlightenment Tarot. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I am Nicole. Collective. I have talked about it all week, about getting out a reading to you all. That Spirit has kind of been on my tail feathers to get done and get out to you. And I'm going to do that right now. So I'm excited to do this reading for you as always. Guys, remember that energy is fluid. Timing may vary. Check your birth charts to timeline placements. What timeline are you on? What shift are you in as we move through this? I want to thank everybody who has liked, shared, subscribed, commented, and donated to the channel. For those of you who have donated for the hurricane relief for Helene, for those in Asheville, North Carolina, and the surrounding areas, thank you so very much. So we have one day left. We have until tomorrow morning at about 9-10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to pull in those donations. I gave an update yesterday in the bonus reading that I did. We're almost to our goal here. I wasn't sure that I had a goal in the beginning. It was like, let's just see how this goes and trust that the divine's will is being done. And it's been amazing. You guys have been fantastic. I do have some pictures of some of the things that we, just the carload of stuff that I was able to pick up yesterday. Tonight, putting together those children's baskets. There will be 30 of those. So I noticed a few people donated over last night. Thank you all so very much. And I'm going to go back through that list of names and the additional names now as well. So if you guys can help in any other way to help us reach that final goal, that would be fantastic. So, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. $1 in itself, right? I have so many viewers on here. $1 a piece goes a super long way because it all adds up, right? So, whatever you can do is greatly, greatly appreciated. We're almost there. This is the only week that I'm going to do this because it is very time consuming, and I would like to get back to all of you the way that I normally do things as well. And it's taken a lot of effort on my part here to keep everything together and working with others to make it happen. So let's do our very best this last 24-hour period and make that big push so we can get those items delivered to the trucking company that's going to take those things to the area down there tomorrow. I also want to say prayers over the state of Florida as they got hit last night with that storm. It's no matter what, it's catastrophic damage. People lose home, they lose their lives. I'm hoping to hear from some of my clients that are in Florida to make sure that they are okay as well. Told them to keep in touch with me, let me know how they are. So we're sending very, very many prayers and blessings. I was hoping to last night. I did set down and light a candle, a white candle for that prayer of protection and peace for everybody, globally, not just those impacted. But I was hoping to do a live. I was worn out. This cold still is kind of lingering, guys, so bear with me. I am feeling a lot better than I was. It's just a slow moving process. So again, thank you all for your love and support, just in everything that you do. I'm starting to respond to more of the emails. If you haven't heard from me, you will be hearing from me. Be patient. Next week, my availability is pretty wide open. So those of you interested in booking personals, reach out to me via the email in the description box below, as well as the about section of the page. And we'll get you set up, we'll get you scheduled, and we'll get on this. Okay, so again, thank you, all of you, so much for all the ways that you support yourselves, each other, and then myself in this community. So kudos to you all. All right, collective, let's see. Spirit's been on my tail feathers, to get these this collective reading out, and that's what we're gonna do, right? So, all right, Spirit, for the collective, what does the collective need to know at this time? Dog is wandering around, so animals everywhere. All right, the world. I'm not surprised to see this card pop out immediately. There is a big cycle here that is closing and shifting, collective, and we know this, right? Like, I don't think it matters who you are, what sign you are, anything, right? There is without a doubt a feeling of something coming to a close. Everything is changing. Our entire world is changing. The way we see ourselves, the way we live, the way we laugh, the way we love, the way we play. And most importantly, Spirit is saying your connection with yourself. And if you are on the upswing of this, know that these challenging times are Spirit is saying it's mostly situational, collective. Like, it's outside of you what is what is happening. And I know that I think I said in a couple of the readings here not long ago that you may just feel like you are sitting back and observing all of these changes, or seeing people act in a certain way. And, we could lay claim to it, to the new age way of saying, they're not awoke, right? And I think I made mention of that in the past. They're not awoke yet. And we're watching them kind of bounce through life trying to find where they fit. And collective, for you, if you're here listening to this, I would say to you that as an awoke person, right? We keep awoke person. You feel this change. You feel this transition. You feel this period of time where everything you may have woken up one day recently and felt like there was this heavy energy. Everything seemed very different. You may have felt like you didn't know what direction you were going after a period of knowing exactly what the hell you were doing. And now all of a sudden looking at the world and going, there's something I might be missing. There's something I might not be seeing. There's something that maybe is calling me, and I don't quite understand what that call is. But it's an internal call. So perhaps it's to be of service to the world. Perhaps it's to be of service to yourself, right? There's so many things that, all of you are going to have this experience on a different level of what it represents to you, what this calling is, how it fits in your life, where it goes from there. When I look at this, when you see the traditional world card in the Rider-Waite deck, it's very clear. There's no ominous clouds that are like negative in a sense. It's a full successful cycle of completion. With this particular world card, you've got the lotus, right? There's growth in that lotus. That growth happens within the mud and the muck, and it's an example that I use quite often. That when we're in that, we emerge so differently out of the darkest of times. We go into something, we're in the middle of this, storm, we'll call it. And we can't see the forest for the trees. We can't see the light in all of the darkness. Both, I'm going to say metaphorically, and in our physical world with the, we look at the weather, right? The weather in itself. But there's also a lot about this in the sense of Spirit's kind of inundating me with information right now. One, I think the storm clouds on the, what's the word? In the real world, the 3D world, right? The storms that we've been having on a scale of weather, in terms of weather. I think that this Milton ordeal was the end of it. And I don't know why I want to say that, and I'm certainly no meteorologist. But I think that now things are going to start to settle. We had to have an uproar of sorts, both in our personal lives and in our global lives. I've mentioned, these storms happening and the shit going across the news, right? In the U.S., we've got the election coming up in November. That's a shitstorm in itself, as always. And then we've also had things like watching celebrities fall from grace and realizing what really was in charge of the world in a lot of ways. It was, funny enough, shocking and yet not shocking. Like, there's always been the suspicion to many things, right? But now it's showing itself in a very different manner. Where, the truth of the matter is coming out. When we look at that blue, you think of the throat chakra. The truth of the situations are being shown. The reality of the world that we live in is being shown. And I would tell you to take that information and take a deeper look into your own personal life. Where is a truth that's coming out is it a truth? I'm going to say for a lot of you, this could be a truth within you that goes, I think I've known this all along. Maybe it's something that I don't think that you were necessarily denying, but not wanting to look at either. And going, I can deal with that tomorrow, or I can put that on the back burner. It's emotional. It makes me have to dig deeper. Do I have time today to dig deeper? I've got to, do the laundry and run the kids here, and I got to go to work, and, I've got, dates with my girlfriends and whatnot. But it is requiring you, and could still be requiring you, collective, to sit down and take a look at the self. What truth within you is needing an awareness brought to it? What is it that you've set on the back burner? Does it pertain to other people? Does it pertain to yourself? Because honestly, the way that I feel about this one world card, this is all that's on the table, is one card. That it has to do with you and your journey, but it also has to do with the way in which you see your external circumstances, your external environments, the situations that are around you. There is a darkness, it's like emerging from the storm, right? The clouds are starting to roll out, but you're walking outside looking at the devastation, realizing that nothing is ever going to be the same again. For those of you not affected by this insane weather that we've had, do you see the people differently in your community? Do you look at your spouse in a different light? Your children, maybe a group that you were a part of, your work, where everything is changing. And you could feel very isolated in this journey. And it's weird because when I see this card and I see him, walking that pier by himself, it gives me that hermit vibe, right? The going within, that Virgo energy of going within and having this innate wisdom from these experiences, these trials, these tribulations that have happened over time. Yet the world itself, to me, and Spirit is showing it to me, is a bunch of like chatter and clutter and chaos and all of these different parts that are just continuing to move all around. And there you are looking at that and going, maybe how do I fit into this? What does this represent to me? What do these people represent to me? Is this where I'm going? Is this where I want to be? Spirit's calling this an uprising of sorts. This 11, a very significant number. You could be seeing 11s. But this is a change in the pillar directions. The pier in which he's walking, the boards are, I don't know how well you can see this from this angle, but those boards are gapped pretty decently. You think about when we construct something, or if you're a builder or whatnot, those boards tend to come together pretty tightly, right? This to me gives me this idea of, I don't know that I want to call it a wobbly foundation, but Lord knows it could have been built better. And I think for you, collective, if you've emerged on this path to make more solid foundations in your sense of self and sense of life, the foundations in which you build aren't necessarily wobbly. They need some fine tuning. Maybe, you think about it, maybe, you put in a nail, maybe it needs a screw, right? Something that's going to be a little more concrete. It's fine tuning a process for you that makes it a more stabilized position. Others of you, it's a complete rebuild. Spirit's saying, get out of your head too when it comes to money. Do you feel like those things are wobbly in your life right now? Because it won't be long till everything will change again. There will be high and low points. And I think, I don't know why they're bringing this up, but it's also teaching us in that, the highs and the lows, how to manage. Like when things are, going really well, and then when things maybe aren't going so well, like how we had seen it before. Our job in that is to create an equilibrium that stays balanced, maybe a little high, a little low, but in the overall scheme of things, it keeps its balance. So whether this is your energy, your time, your efforts, security, stability, money, savings, investments that you're making as well, there's something to that, and it's your job in that to find that equilibrium that keeps it on course. Yes, we have distractions. Yes, life happens. Yes, we get pulled from things that we would rather be working on. But ultimately, it becomes a balancing act. This is the self and the introspection. Now at the bottom, I bring up money, and then Spirit says turn the deck. Financial constraints happens to be sitting there with patience underneath that. So call this a low point, collective, right? This financial lack in this particular card. It's not just our tangible resources. Maybe it's our emotional resources. our spiritual resources? Are we lacking spiritually? Have we not invested enough time into our spiritual practices to keep us balanced as well? There's a great call for balance here, and it's like also in connection with others, recognizing how little has been given. And now, we talk about that quite a bit, right? Equal reciprocity, blah, blah, blah. I most feel like that's a overly used word anymore too. But at the same time, I still don't think or feel or intuit the fact that you're as bad off now as you once were. Like it's night and day, the difference. But now as we're stepping into this new cycle, this is a fine-tunement of those devils, of those things that have confined us, restrained us for so long. So it's like, I don't know, we'll just, as, humans, we can relate to money and love, whatever, connection, I think the best. But it's the two things that get hammered in our heads from the point that we've ever watched Cinderella moving forward. But in terms of money, maybe in the past you never had a savings, right? But now all of a sudden you do, and it's $500. And you're like, in this economy, who the hell, what the hell does $500 do sometimes? I mean, it can do a lot in some ways and not so much in others. But going, that's all I've got. It's almost like this lack mindset in a sense, but says, listen, go back a couple of years. Where were you? You're not where you once were. You're not pulling yourself from the depths of hell. You're not pulling yourself out of the trenches of like places you had never been before. On a negative side of things, you're now building from that space of a learned experience, the wisdom, right? The wisdom to know the difference, the serenity prayer. And I said, God grant me, how does it go? It's one of my favorite prayers. I do know it, and I'm having a moment for whatever reason. The courage or the wisdom to know the difference is what I'm hearing more than anything. The wisdom to know the difference, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I know there's like 3 parts to that, but if you know it, you know it, right? And if not, look it up. But there is a wisdom in that collective that says you've built something from the ground up in the past, and maybe it's not as structurally sound as you wanted it to be. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's there. It's proof. It could be tangible proof, intangible proof in regards to the emotions too. Like maybe for those of you talking about the communication, that throat chakra, to hear, to listen, to, all of those things. Where before maybe you were very shy, backwards. Never spoke your piece, never said what needed to be said, just 18 on the clock. Just kind of let things go. What is that, moon energy, right? Just kind of held out in the shadows of things. And now you find yourself maybe in smaller situations going, hi, I'm Nicole, or hi, I'm so-and-so, right? Or, I disagree with that, and this is why. And even at that, you may notice that still some people, maybe in the past, you were taught to not speak upon, right? Your opinion, your thoughts, your ideas, they didn't matter to the majority of the people in your life some way. And now all of a sudden you find yourself building a foundation, albeit maybe a little shaky, that says, I'm going to step into this, and I feel like I have the ability or the space, or I've created this space for myself to say what needs to be said, or address how I feel about something, at least a little bit, right? Starting to build that confidence up that gives you the ability to just say things that you've never said before, or allow yourself to be seen and heard in ways that you didn't think were possible in the past. And it's like a practice, right? You're making a practice run on something, right? Pilots don't just jump in a plane and off to how many thousands of feet in the air that they might be and whatnot. It's a practice run. Collective, you've been doing this practice run for a while. And there's proof. Tangible, intangible, it doesn't matter. there's proof to how much you've accomplished. With that comes this shift. With that comes this change. You see the world differently. You acknowledge yourself differently. You're not haphazardly running into a fire anymore. You're slowing down, right? And part of being present and aware in this spiritual sense is to slow down, is to be aware. It is to take a moment and think about, feel it out, listen to your intuition on why you notice the things that you do, or giving yourself the time to go, like a child, don't stick your fingers in the outlet. You get shocked, right? So you finally get shocked. The likelihood of you walking back over to a light socket or a plug and sticking your fingers in there it makes you stop and think about it, going, oh shit, last time I zapped myself, my hair stood up on the top of my head and I looked like I was going to take off. Completely frazzled. This time you're not sticking 10 fingers into a light socket to see what happens. You're thinking about the consequences of anything that you do. Or, maybe, you could walk into something in the past with the best of intentions and things just got fucking crazy. But going, it's not just about how I'm going to behave or process or be a part of a situation. What's this other person going to do? And you could call it, an issue of trust or whatnot, right? You want to make sure there's a balance too, that you're not letting some backwoods kind of trauma creep up on you that you thought you had buried for good either. But at the same time, again, you're not working from the traumatic response. You're working from the I've learned response. So that you can kind of foresee. You see, talking about that external environment, you see why people do the things they do. It's like, what's the best example I could give here? I don't even know. Somebody who is not healed, right? You've done some of the healing work and you join the dating scene again. And you see certain characteristic or traits about them. Like maybe you make mention of something and they kind of go, I know nothing about that. And you're like, ooh, wait a minute. Not that you would call it a red flag, but Spirit is calling it a cautionary tale sign, thank you, Spirit, of going, I've seen your kind before. I'm aware of your kind before, and I've learned to dance with that devil, right? There's always a devilish side to most things, or could be anyways. And you're stopping to think about how that would play out. Where we've tied expectations to things in the past too. We're taking a step back and going, I don't have an expectation, right? We get taught that we should, the conditions of being married by this and expect this happy, lovey family dynamic and the white picket fence and whatnot. And saying, are those possibilities? Of course, right? Anything is possible. But the flip of that is, am I going to invest so wholeheartedly into something that I still have yet to know everything about? A person, a situation, a job. It's not just you going, ooh, let's jump from A to B. There's a presence and awareness that says, pause. Pause at the end of that pier. Don't go, taking a complete dive, head first into this and swimming off to the world in this big rush of, ooh, what could be mine? What is this for me? Yay, and I'm not saying to you, like, don't have positive thoughts around what could be, right? Yes, stay in a high vibration, manifest that stuff. Pardon me, as the dog is leaning against the table, like, apparently. Excuse me. Still coughing. But either way, it's not an expectation. It's simply going, I see the reality. There's no fantasy here. There's a reality to what could be. Good or bad, good or indifferent. The way I want things to be, maybe versus the way that they, in reality, could shake out, right? It's like, dating somebody with children. Or, that person might just adore you and think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Are their kids going to like you? Because there becomes a whole other quip in that. Like, are they going to like me? Because if not, then that may create problems down the line, right? It's like looking at every possibility. And I will say this to you, do not overanalyze it. Don't make it more than what it is. Take everything, whether this is a job, a relationship, the relationship with yourself is important, equally as important, if not more important than anything else in that regard, that you take the time to examine the possibilities without getting in your head of, what about this, what about that, and everything getting all crazy, and you're just cycling on that Nine of Swords rat race kind of energy. Not able to sleep at night, overthinking it, over delivering in your thoughts. It's not necessary at this time. It's not, that train of thought is never ever necessary, period, right? So there's that. So with that one card still remains, and let's clarify. All right, Spirit, what else does the collective need to know in regards to this World card? What is the representation to this for the collective? I'm going to have to go back and watch this portion, but I'm pretty sure you've seen that card come out of the deck, flip. It came out in the upright, flipped over, and still landed right on my lap in the upright of Judgment. The World and the Judgment card. Those are two powerful endings of choice. As I say that, we've got the Seven of Cups on the bottom, the Tower, the Empress, the Knight of Pentacles, holy fucking shit, the Emperor. And I mentioned that moon energy and what sits behind that, because we're coming out of this moon phase. There's the moon. Collective, there's a Spirit, I got the chills, a powerhouse dynamic to this. And I will say on a collective level, we've talked so much the last couple of years about the divine feminine, the divine masculine, that shift. It's like somebody too in your life, collective, is maybe purposefully or not. Maybe it's the divine's will, who's handing you the keys. Switching from this more masculine energy of control and domination and needing to make, call the shots, if you will, to this more loving, empathetic energy of the connection of the heart. Opening up the soul, opening up the mind, opening up the heart space. And being asked about the feeling that comes in with it all. We've thought about it, we've processed, we've done a shit ton of processing. Now what do you feel? What do you need to feel? Because there is some sort of emotional confusion that I feel like you're sifting through the rubble here. Maybe in the past it was a lot of rubble. But again, you've learned to examine the possibilities that have come in with these things. Maybe this Tower, you're not seeing it as the worst case scenario. I'll say even in the storms, I remember reading an article here recently that this one guy in Asheville lost 11 family members. It was like his mom, his dad, his great aunt, his great uncle, his cousin, second cousin. Like, what was left was him and his wife after this. And even at that, he said something to the effect, and please, I'm paraphrasing here. It was very difficult, and there are moments that he is perfectly fine, and other moments where he has breakdowns. This isn't something that goes away overnight. It may never go away. But even in that, he's finding comfort in what he does have and what he now knows. When he's examining all of the things, there's an understanding in this. That yes, it might have been difficult, but perhaps there's a reason. this is moving into love. And I will tell you, and I will say this, and I'm not knocking anybody's religion, but I'm not religious in that sense. But there is also whatever the powers be for you, then when we don't get it, when we don't step into that place of love, we are forced there. And I will, again, use the example because it's something we're all aware of, I think. Asheville, beautiful, lovely little town. Sweet, sweet people. It took great devastation to bring people together. It's that whole reactive, proactive thing. And again, apply this to your own personal life. It's not just about the world at large. It's also about you. Why does it take something catastrophic for us to become reactive? Why don't we look at things from the sense of, if we would just do these things and not take these shortcuts, we would never have to be reactive because we've been proactive. We've mitigated some sort of damages in this situation. Spirit just said, don't ever think that it couldn't be you. This judgment card is after this period of learning and exploration of this world. You now get to make that final judgment call. I will tell you, if you are not making 31:31 on the clock, if you are not making these judgment calls for yourself, the divine is. And we could see that, in regards to, again, collectively the world here, the hurricanes, the devastation, the destruction. It may not make sense the way that it happens, but it happens to open our eyes to all possibilities and potentials with that Seven of Cups. That anything is possible. There's more than, as my grandmother would say, there is more than one way to skin a cat. Horrible, right? Like, where did they come with these things? But still, the point is made. There is more than one way. And that call is being made. And there is also a call from the divine universe that says, those of you, you call us the chosen ones or whatnot, you have a higher calling than where you've been. And we're calling on you, right? That the trumpet is sounding for you. This is to come to aid for yourself and for others and be that vibrational energy. To ride the waves. I mean, you take a look at these coffins and these caskets. They're sitting on water. You see that? And I'll tell you that those waters aren't still. They're a little rippled. I don't know if these are supposed to be snow-capped mountains or not. I just read things as I see it. I don't, dig into too much of the exacts, if you will, with the card definitions. But I've had this deck for over 20 years. But there's a realization that it's time to come out of the cold. It's time to change. It's time to spread our wings. It's time to rise to a calling that is greater than the world that we have known it to be for so long. It's like, just when you think you've got it figured out, boom, you get hit with the next thing and you're like, shit. I just got my feet underneath me and now here we go. Things are changing again. Don't fear, Spirit. Don't fear the unknown. Fear what happens if you stay where you are. If you stay where you are, you could be taking on the painstaking addresses of the others around you that are not yours to bear. So put that where it fits for you. If you don't stop, all this space in here, and she's got a leg smack dab against the table leg. Right? Animals and kids. Bless their souls. I know. I've always made jokes. If my kid could climb back in, she would. The animals, they couldn't be any closer. We'd be sharing fur and skin and clothes. So, All right. What else, Spirit? What else for the collective? Rendezvous point. This card's so hard to read. Meeting place. Destiny unfolds. Convergence. Sorry, my face is right in the camera. I couldn't see. It's a black card with red lettering. It's not the easiest. Parking lot. You know, this to me pretends to, what I said about that world card, that gentleman walking out on the pier and being at the end of that. This is where, and I said in yesterday's bonus reading, I think I entitled it, When Worlds Collide. This convergence. Smack dab up against each other. You could think of it as a political sense, right? Just to kind of paint a picture here of one side versus the other, which we're not going to get into all that stuff, but it's the fact that you've got this blue and this red, right? And come that point in November, boom, right? Worlds collide. Perhaps it's a country and another country. Boom, worlds collide. Two people that have avoided each other for whatever reason. Boom, they cross paths. Whatever is needing to change, this rendezvous point, this is the dance that has to happen. There's a reason for this shift, and it is to make you move. It is to get out of where you have been, physically, metaphorically speaking, spiritually maybe, in a rut. It's time. Like all of the darkness, look at this, parking lot in windswept region. All of this darkness, and there's still the lights that light the way, that show you that direct path. Ironically enough, of all the cards, windswept region. Breezy, gusty, whirling winds, airy expansion, dancing leaves. Some of you have been in the eyes of the storms. Others of you, your world changing, you could feel like you're in the eye of the storm. It's directing you a different direction. And what is behind those two is guiding light, symbol of hope, watchful sentinel, lighthouse. It is that beacon of hope. There is something, and I will show this to you. I mean, you look at there's a lot of dark cards that have come out here. You look at the light points, right? Even though there's this darkness, there is the light. These two specific cards, very dark energy, right? You see all the clouds, you see all the darkness. It is still, and yet the moon energy, as you try to navigate your way through it, there is another one. All dark. We have to walk through that dark to understand the light. We have to have this convergence of where we walk through the things that are anything but comfortable for us. You know, maybe, we'll use this as an example with Asheville, right? What happened there? They never would have thought would ever have happened there, right? But there was, a 1 in 1 million chance that place might flood. Who knows, right? Like, I don't know. Just say it like that. But to the gravity in which it was. So maybe now, as they rebuild, as the world changes, it's to be proactive rather than reactive, right? Can we use different structures? Can we build differently? Can we realize that if we build on the side of a mountain, like this is the potential, so what can we do to stop anything like this from happening again, or at least create a blockage for it to not be as catastrophic, right? We learn through those experiences of the hard times, and even in our own everyday lives, right? If we go through a piss poor relationship, next time we go to get into one, we look at the signs and go, wait a minute, I've seen this before. Hold on here. That's a red flag. We learn the expansion in this. And I'm going to say, and again, I'm going to make note of this date because it's coming through. I don't know astrologically if anything happens on this date. I couldn't tell you. I haven't had time to keep up with that. December 29th, a new world emerges, is what Spirit is giving me. December 29th, the new world emerges. This darkness may feel like it lingers, right? And I know for some of us, like we're getting ready to go through the time change here in the U.S. And with that, it's going to get dark earlier than it did before, right? It's going to be 4 o'clock and we're going to be ready for bed. that darkness is a point. You think about it from like the state of a bear, right? And I know bears were coming up there for a while as like an animal in some of these readings. The bear goes into hibernation in the winter. When it's dark and it's cold, he's pulling in his reserves and he's fluffing himself up by, cookies and picnic baskets. And he's preparing for the winter slumber. Know that this darkness is a temporary but necessary space and time that we're all going to have to walk through. But when you pay attention to the signs, when you are present, when you hear the calling of spirit, by being aware and present, there will be a light to light your way home, to whatever that home is going to be for you. You'll know. You will know. I don't even know what else to say. Just spirit, you will know. Whatever that means for you, you will know. All right. Advice. We're just jumping straight to advice because we're 41 minutes into this and I've got 3 cards on the table with some underlying energies. Very important message. All right, Spirit. Advice for the collective, please. Taking a chance, risk and options, not showing your hand in gambling, separation. The thing that sticks out on that to me is uncertain future. Somebody could, at some point here in the near future, collective, think that you've become cold, that you've stopped giving, you stopped doing, that there's some tricks up your sleeve. What I think is ironically interesting about that is it's a projection. Because it's like, whatever their goal was, or maybe they didn't even have a goal, they were just existing in it. It's like you fold on them. But not for that purpose, but for yourself. Okay? I hope that's making sense. Advice for the collective. Cut down. That other card was separation, and this here's cutting out, separation, stop the pattern, silent treatment. Don't expect, collective, karmic relationships. There you go. Meant to teach you something, right? That's what their purpose is. Don't expect rainbows and butterflies. If you're leaving a job, a situation, whatever it might be that you feel has given you enough, as I said earlier, right? That whole reciprocity thing that's been on repeat for a hot minute. Behind it, clarity and truth, revelations, honor, protection, and determination. Even in the smallest of circumstances where you draw a line, because you've learned what you've came to a situation or person to learn and know. When others feel the lack and the loss of you, once you turn around and go the other direction, they will chase you down. It's, you call it taking people or situations for granted, employees for granted. It's like, maybe you've asked for a pay raise for the last 2 years. Like, all I'm asking for is a quarter, right? Like, it's not a whole lot, but it does help. And you've waited and you've waited and you've waited and you've waited and you've waited. And then finally, you're like, here's my 2 weeks. I've found the job. Now they want to talk. Now they want to negotiate. Now they want to sit down and pay attention because you got their attention. It's like, you did not see me for 2 years. You did not hear me for 2 years. You did not value what I put in for 2 years. I can't remain a part of this. I said something to someone the other day. It's a very innate thing that as humans, we want what we can't have. It becomes a challenge, and some people take that challenge to the extremes of going, watch me, and then you see narcissistic, crazy people who, turn psycho and obsessed, and you've got stalkers and, greed and all the other, it can take that negative turn. But this person, this situation, will chase you. And it's your job to recognize your worth in it. Whether this is your work, your love, maybe even the ways you self-sabotage. You're also, I would say that many of you are going through an ego death, even if you thought you put an end to that in the past. There's an ego death here happening because you're not operating from ego. You're not operating from ego when you're operating in your heart, not on the positive side. And I think that's a very solid realization to this. Last words of advice for the collective, please. The dragonfly. So dragonflies could be symbolism for you. Thistles. Thistles specifically could be important. And what is it, a dandelion? No. Yes. No, I forget what they're called. I can't think of what they're called. But I know here where I grew up and where I live now, there's a weed that pops up, and it'll pop up through like the sidewalk cracks, and it's got the big leaves to it, and it gets real thick roots, and it's got those brushy looking Q-tip kind of looking things on the end. I have no idea what they're called. That plant specifically, look that up, see what that means for you. I hope you know what I'm talking about, and if I have a moment and find it, I'll let you know myself in the comments. But it's like bees to honey. They go where they can be fed. And people, situations could have been attached to you that they came to you for feeding. Now you have to go feed yourself. Spirit, and if they genuinely love you, they will understand. This is where those two worlds collide. The ego and then the death of an ego. Lighthearted and adapting. And I do think that the majority of you are taking things in a very graceful way. It's like emotional balance in a sense. But more of a deep pondering of how you got to where you are. 47:47 on the clock, 11:11. Finding out and change, things coming to light and heal. I don't think that this point is the dramatics that we've seen when we initially step into that healing and all kind of crazy things are happening. I think that there is a peaceful resolution in this, for you at least. The way you're handling it, being a part of it, going through it, observing it, and just going, I know that this is not for me ever again. I've tried, Spirit, for a very long time. I have to adapt to my circumstances of who I am now versus who I was. A reason, a season, whatever. Collective, you're coming home to yourself. You're coming home to you. Celebrate that. It's beautiful. Bittersweet, maybe in some situations. But you're finding the strength and the courage to hold on to the things that feed you now, instead of being the one that feeds everybody else. It's your turn. Be at peace to let go. I've got this energy shooting up from the bottoms of my feet up into my knees. It's quite invigorating, honestly. All right. Spirit, one card of wisdom. Gotcha. One card of wisdom. Spirit for the collective, this one card of wisdom. Call of the Muse. A great big love. Do what lights you up. Do what sets your soul on fire. And, you know, I said, you're doing this gracefully. You look at this. She's like a ballerina. Look how graceful she is. Dance in the light of your own power. You know, pinpoint what's important to you. Your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Tap into music. Things that create such a flow. And I'm going to say, for Spirit's addressing the fact that people will notice by the way that you walk. Are you rigid? Are you stomping? Are you, just looking rough and tough? All of a sudden, you're standing there in grace and beauty. And it doesn't matter if you're male, female, them, they. It doesn't matter. You just move fluidly. It's like, what is that? One part is Cinderella, and she's like twirling around with the broom, and la 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 la, and she's dancing with her dress, and she's just feeling it. She's in her own little happy universe, and she's letting love exude from her. Be her. Be her in that moment where she's got divine blessing and beauty and grace and love and happiness within. You're walking through what you've had to go through. Now you're coming out the other side. Collective, I'm leaving it there. I need to go fix my nails. Do you see this? They're a mess. Working mom life right there, right? I'll get to it when I get to it. So guys, I hope that this reading was helpful to you. A lot of information in it, rather long, but that's okay. It was necessary, and Spirit's been on me for a week to do this. Again, those of you who are interested in donating to Hurricane Helene for the Asheville, North Carolina area, we have 1 day left. Anything, everything will be a tremendous help. As we've got that list of supplies together. We're pretty close to that, where we need to be. And so let's wrap this up. Let's make this happen. And I could say things, but I'm just not going to say it. Just, you're in this spiritual journey. You know how it works. I'll leave it at that, right? I don't want to sound like some skeezy, what's the words here? Like, again, I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave my Scorpio lingo at home for the day. But if you can help out in any way, it is absolutely and greatly appreciated. If you have any questions about how to do so, please feel free to email me. That information is in the description box below and the about section of the page. First video went out to channel members yesterday, the day before. So if you aren't a channel member yet, please do join. Starting to get the ball rolling on that finally at last, despite everything that has happened and even my own distractions, right? That's life. And then, personal reads, again, are open and available. That info, again, same deal, email down below, description box as well. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. The rest of the October reads will be out, and I'm probably going to start a second one. Cross my fingers. We will see, right? We know that life likes to take me for rides. And that's cool. It's cool. Just go with the flow. All right, guys, I'm sending you all so much love. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a beautiful weekend. As it is almost upon us, and take care of each other, love each other, and I'll see you soon. Bye.